boy, I sure hope I'm in frame this time. This is take 2. I recorded a video in my college dorm where I said I forgot my little tripod or my phone adapter for my tripod. So being the smart person that I am, of course, when I came back from Thanksgiving break, I said, I'm not forgetting that phone adapter, and I brought it back to my college dorm as if I would be recording a video there for some reason during finals week. And then I forgot it when I came back from winter break. So, no sponge this time, but I am using a VR set to hold up my phone. Anyway, if you take a very close look at my YouTube history, you will see about 40 plus hours of these 4 people. And so you can kind of see the impetus behind me doing a commentary type video. I really want to try out that style right now. I don't know why. So, cubing communicators, what does that mean exactly? Well, before I specifically get into that, let me give you the backstory behind how I got to this issue with the cubing community. So, I'm in college right now, and I'm taking a course called Rhetoric and Civic Life. And one of our assignments for this 8-week course was to every week produce a passion blog. So, you guys know me very well. What am I going to write this passion blog on? Wicker furniture, of course. But unfortunately, somebody took wicker furniture, so I just did it on cubing instead. Keep in mind, this is something I had to do every single week for 8 straight weeks, so I didn't want to choose a boring topic. How am I going to keep cubing interesting for myself when I've definitely written about cubing a million times before for school? Well, I decided to take on a new challenge, and that's balancing a cubing blog and a non-cubing blog.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
I am writing for a class of people who are non-cubers, but at the same time, I wanted to challenge myself to produce content that could still be interesting and enjoyable for cubers at the same time. So in order to tackle that issue, I decided to specifically focus on the misconceptions that the general public has about cubing. This way, I could teach non-cubers about new things they haven't heard about from cubing, and at the same time, I can make it interesting for cubers through analyzing why these non-cubers don't know these things, or why cubing as a hobby is misrepresented or portrayed incorrectly in media and stuff like this. So I'm going to start off by linking the blog right up top there, and you can take a look and read my 8 blogs if you'd like to. They go into a little more detail than what I'm going to do in this video, but I'm going to touch upon the general idea. So as I continued to write these blogs, I began to more clearly see that we have a pretty serious issue in the cubing community that a lot of people don't seem to be that concerned about. To me, it seems like something that we should be talking about, and that's the idea of cubing communicators. Science, for example, is a very complex set of disciplines, right, that people study for over a long period of time to get their degrees and go into a field related to it, right? Where I'm going with this is that the general public is not very science literate. So how do we reconcile the fact that we need science and we have a general population that isn't very familiar with it? And the answer to that is we have communicators. We have people that water down science, make it more consumable for the general public. Bill Nye the Science Guy. I loved Bill Nye in middle school or in elementary school when they showed it. And the reason they showed it is because he makes science for kids. He makes it easy to understand. He gets you interested in the idea so that you can go explore more. And that's what I'm doing. As a result of enjoying all those Bill Nye shows, now I'm in a science field. The idea is not to teach the top of the field or anything like that. It's to sort of whet the viewer's interest almost. Cubing lacks this, just period. There are very few cubing communicators. And this is the issue I see with the community right now. We don't seem very concerned with spreading our hobby. We like to put cubers first. What we're not so much concerned with is bringing new cubers into the hobby. Most of the cubers in the community are young, and that's not by mistake. Young cubers are exposed to the cubing community online, and it's easier for them to take onto a new hobby. Take somebody in college. They wouldn't just stumble across a cubing video and decide to start dedicating their lives towards cubing, especially when they don't have the time to do it. Kids have the time and they're not beat down by the cruelty of existence yet, so they can take to the hobby a little bit more. And then we grow into it. I've been in cubing, 6 years by now. I can't even keep track. The point is that once you have that hobby and you spent the time at the beginning and you get into it, then you could sort of stick with it all the way through the tough times, like college, where I don't have a lot of time. So it's kind of easy to see why the cubing community is pretty young, but I don't think we should just be okay with this. Why aren't we seeing other demographics sort of getting into cubing? I mean, the only other constant demographic I can think of is maybe parents of cubers. And that just goes to show right there that any other person of any age group can really get into the hobby. There's nothing stopping them. Essentially, there's nobody making cubing consumable. Nobody trying to get anybody interested in the general public. Now, I will admit that this idea is personal, but I feel that if you have a hobby, you should be actively advertising and trying to spread that hobby, especially when you have such a beneficial community like the cubing community. This is really a great place for social interactions and just meeting new people in general. It's almost kind of like we're hoarding it to ourselves. We love to make fun of cubing media. When these media sites go and try to talk about cubing, they have no idea what they're talking about most of the time. Most often, they put these cubers on sort of pedestals. They portray their accomplishments in the cubing community as something that's done because of superior intellect. Nobody is born inherently skilled in cubing. Like any other skill or in any other hobby, you build it up. So when you have news programs that show off local cubers or world records or world record holders and interview them, really what that's telling the general public is, look at this amazing accomplishment. It's the best of the cubing community, and you can't accomplish this. It's basically portraying cubing as something that's impossible. Misrepresenting cubing is extremely dangerous because it sends a message to the general public that you need to be smart to do this. It doesn't show them that, like any other hobby, if you get interested, you can work your way up. Of course, there's one example that people like to point to, and that's the Vox video. And I think that's one of the only videos that has done a really good job where a popular site has really learned what the cubing community is. Imagine you're somebody in college and you're watching Vox videos and you see this video about Colin Burns and you see this video about this journalist who bought herself her own cube and actually learned how to do it. You could say, wow, that actually doesn't look that hard. I can go out and try that. And then you go out and try it and it turns out you're very interested in it and you join a Facebook group and you start improving, and what do you know, soon you're in the community, you're going to competitions, you're part of this wonderful social group that we have. That's what we need. It's not what we have. We need a better form of communication between non-cubers and cubers, essentially. It's too much of a joke right now saying that non-cubers don't understand. That's a problem. We need to fix that. We need to better represent what cubing is in order to get more people into the hobby. Anyway, that's just one aspect of this whole issue about communicators and bringing people into the hobby. We can talk about many different things, like slang and how cubing slang is inaccessible for the general public, or stereotypes that the general public develops because of these misrepresentations. For example, if you look at any world record video, you will see people who are making fun of cubers for being autistic. And the reason for that is because they view this as a very specific skill, and that's often associated with savant syndrome. And that's just not true. That's not how the hobby works. So you can see that misrepresentations in the way cubing is portrayed to the general public can develop some of these stereotypes. Anyway, more thought out ideas about these are in my blog if you're interested in reading them, but that's the gist of what I wanted to talk about. I think we need to do a better job of taking cubing as a hobby and making it more accessible for the general public, because that would allow the hobby to expand and grow and share this wonderful thing that we've all individually been lucky enough to find with more people. I just completely lost my train of thought. As per usual with a lot of my most recent videos, this is supposed to be a discussion. I'm supposed to be presenting an idea that we can talk about further in detail down below in the comment section, so please leave your thoughts down below. Should we be focused about expanding this hobby, or should we just worry about ourselves, essentially? Because if you don't agree that we should be expanding the hobby in the first place, then this whole point is basically moot. So that just erases all of the video, basically. And look, I don't even have any specific ideas. It seems like I was building to something in this video, but it's not like I'm the one who's going to solve the issue. I'm not going to become the Bill Nye of cubing. I just thought I'd put my ideas out there, sort of, for people to discuss. I think there are great steps being taken. Chris Olsen's Why We Cube is an excellent documentary that talks about sort of cubing and the motivations behind it that can help dispel some stereotypes associated with it. And that's a step in the right direction for more non-cubers to see. As I mentioned before, the Vox article, journalists who do their job are very important to our hobby because they accurately portray what it's all about. And we need more of that as well. But if you have any specific ideas, you can leave them down below and we can talk about it. Anyway, that's all I got. That's it. So you can leave now. Tune in next week for more ghetto tripod tips.